The power of the vampire nation lies here.
Well, it was much easier than the first one because the vision had been established.
Okay, cut, print.
Printing.
Check the gate.
My first job was convince David Goyer to return as a writer, because he actually, at the beginning of this process, didn't want to write the script.
I like to make hybrid movies. It's this strange hybrid of action, science fiction, horror with this comic sensibility. And I knew there were certain things we wanted to do in this film that we hadn't done in the first film, that we wanted to make this film scarier. And I know that's something that Guillermo is incredibly good at. And he knew I was writing Blade 2, and I kept saying to him, when I'm done, we're going to be coming for you, we're going to be coming for you. And he said, yeah, but you know that I want to make it scarier, that's what I do. And we said, we know. We're going to have all the action that we did in the first film, but also this film is very scary.
Excellent. Sucking. Bite him. Let him go closer to his neck. And cut. Cut. Does something happen? Got it. Something happened.
We actually came up with the storyline and a first draft pretty quickly. We developed the script independently without a director, and then showed it to Guillermo, who had some wonderful additions and subtractions. And you know, he's a very different kind of filmmaker than Norrington, but Guillermo understood what worked in the first movie and was very excited about keeping that kind of baseline and amplifying it in places, and then also bringing what he does.
They came to me the first time, and I read the screenplay, and it was Reapers transforming into everything, and tunnels, sewers. And I said, tunnels and sewers and something transforming? I did that movie. I don't want to go through it again. I mean, people are going to think I created the sewers for the second one. They were there from the start. And then I read it the second time, and the idea of the blood pack of the group that joins Blade was much more fun.
I went to the end of the staircase, and then I made a right. Now,
Don't make a right.
well, I got to make a right to go up the stairs.
Then you go higher sooner.
Can I show him where it's supposed to be? Okay.
Action! And then David and I talked on the phone a little bit on the second time, and I said to him, this is really cool because it's like the Dirty Dozen of vampires. And I asked New Line for every single piece of film shot by Norrington on the first one. And I went in and I watched, I saw every single piece of raw dailies in that movie. Everyone, all the takes. And then I analyzed the movie. And then I said, this is what I don't want to do with it. This is what I'm going to preserve because I wanted to give it continuity. And after analyzing every single piece of dailies, I knew what the style of the fight was, and I knew how to amp it up one step or two. How to make it the logical evolution of what Norrington had proposed on that one. And I wanted very hard to serve the franchise. Would it be better if after you put the cylinder, you move first?
Make you uncomfortable that I go behind your back? Because you're like...
Well, no, yeah, that's what I played. I played the doors coming down, all you motherfuckers. I remember I got this shit right here.
Exactly. Then he turns. The Steadicam will be waiting for him there.
Yes, sir.
He will start coming down, and then Steadicam will push towards him, meet halfway, and we will bring him all the way to the leg. Because he's so active with the hands, if we could, we have Whistler here, Blade here. I'll move Blade a little bit, cheat the island, and maybe a second camera there just for the sound.
Okay, so third camera for the hands, right? So that would be Commander over there for the hands. We get the close-up there with Tony over the long length post, and the steady cam.
Yes.
No problem.
This is evidently a wonderful expositional scene, and the thing is to try to keep it fluid. Sure. He will be basically the one that weaves the whole dialogue.
Roll! Please, rolling!
It's a stretch for Guillermo because he's kind of nodding to where we've been before. So he's not throwing it out. He's merely adding his own touches where they're appropriate. Blade himself is a full-born character. He's a very, very alienated, dark character who's got some scores to settle, you know, within the context of being half man, half vampire, and hating suckheads, as he calls them. But it's all deadly serious. And I think that's what kind of sets it apart.
I tend to gravitate towards anti-heroes. I'm doing another project now, Ghost Rider, also a Marvel comic, and I tend to enjoy writing characters that are shades of gray, and I loved all the Clint Eastwood films, The Man with No Name, and I don't regard Blade as being a superhero per se. He's a deeply tortured character. He hates himself.
I think it's morally right or wrong, and I think that Blade is that type of character. He's a character that has a very small dramatic arc. Very small. You know, you don't see Blade come out at the end of the movie and say, "I shall embrace all forms of life." You know, it's not. That's not what is that character about, and that's part of the comic book mythology. I was a fan of the comics he appeared on, but I was not a fan of the Blade character. You know, the Blade character in the comics was very, very boring visually and very predictable. I thought it was like a one-note, jive-talking, like Mod Squad type of character that was just like an African-American written by a white guy that really didn't understand the sensibility except through the Shaft movies he had seen. So I didn't relate to that. I thought Marv Wolfman wrote a great Dracula, but didn't write a great Blade. And when I saw the movie, I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, someone got it. You know, someone, and it was Norrington. Norrington got it, Wesley got it. I mean, I think that having worked with Wesley, I know how much of Wesley is in the first movie, and it's a lot. I mean, Wesley is Blade.
You obviously do not know who you are fucking with.
Both Goyer and I have been fans of Guillermo's since Kronos, and we were actually interested in him directing the first Blade.
Which would have been a catastrophe. You know, I think that going from Kronos to Blade 1 would have been like a shock therapy, because I think that Mimic has more things in common with Kronos in terms of atmosphere and so forth. Kronos to Mimic was a leap. Then Mimic to Devil's Backbone was like going back and finding my personality on certain things with the camera. And then Blade 2 was absolutely 100% just pure fun. Ready? And action! Hand her the cylinder, go with the cylinder. Look at her briefly. Perfect. One more? And I think that one of the things that I took very seriously doing Blade 2 was, this was, as Devil's Backbone was a chance for me to grow, quote unquote, as an artist. Blade 2 was a chance for me to grow enormously as a craftsman. And I took it in stride as an apprenticeship of really making myself get a whole new set of tools, narratively.
Like it better.
And that's what I went and did in preparation. So, no lower.
That's my position?
Yes, no lower than that.
And then from there, You turn me around?
My syntax is very classic syntax in Devil's Backbone and so forth. Is very classic. I respect the axis. I wait for everything to finish, to link it to the next, and so forth. Make it very fluid. And this is all about compression. This style is all about compression. So I started studying, I don't know how many times I watched the Eminem videos, which I really like. I mean, I think they're real great pieces of film. And I watched, REM, which I love, Bjork, which I love, things that I could enjoy, and I just realized what type of syntax they had and what type of syntax I liked that they have, because I didn't just absorb it blindly. I said, I don't like this, I don't like what they do here, I don't like what they do there, I'm going to do this other stuff. And I think that, this is a fusion of what I do and what it was required.
Ready? And action!
I think Blade is a very Catholic exercise in modesty, in the sense that I was not there to make Guillermo del Toro's Blade 2. I was there to make Blade 2, the kick-ass movie. Very good. Print, check the gate. Gabby? We got it?
Let's go.
I made a lot of notes watching my anime DVDs on what made anime unique and the type of action and violence in anime non-offensive. What is fun violence in anime action? And I made my notes, and I have a diary of ideas and notes that I keep, and I made enough notes in that to start storyboarding stuff before even we scouted locations, and to settle down on a style for the movie.
One of the reasons why we came to Prague is because there were so many sets built for this film. It would have been A, too cost prohibitive to do it in the States, but B, the artisans in Eastern Europe are so amazing. I mean, that's one of the reasons you come to Eastern Europe, if you have a movie that has a lot in terms of sets.
I really enjoy the craftsmanship. The craftsmanship that they bring to sets, for example, is very, very old world. The precision and the pride that they bring to their craftsmanship in creating statues, murals, stuff like that is just really amazing. And it shows in the movie for me.
Yeah, we got it.
I think that the House of Pain, which contains around 400 extras or so, was another experience of what, to me, the Czech spirit is. I think it was the most amazing, disciplined, giving, adoring, hard-working group of extras that anyone could ever dream of. They were amazing. It was, I was expecting hell, and I got heaven. I mean, it was really, really great.
Here is my lowest. I go up from here. This is good.
And we're going to try and get up for you guys to be able to get in underneath.
Don't you worry about us.
And as soon as he's gone, she comes through. Picture, yes, mate, yes. Yeah, they're ready. All right, shooting this time, guys. We're going to shoot the rehearsal. So Ron and Matt, we're going to shoot the rehearsal, okay?
Try and reiterate what he said. Try and reiterate. Sergio said.
Wished was, like, in the fourth day of shoot, a couple more deodorant sticks would have been very useful. But, other than that, it was great.
Marv and Ron. have to go in earlier.
You can't get under that motherfucker.
When, as soon as you can.
I mean, that thing's like, there's no like...
I understand, but
I got a 5-second frame right here before it even raises. I can't even get under.
Okay, as soon as you can.
Okay.
Back down! Okay, roll, please, roll now!
I'm a really boring guy in daily life. I don't like nightlife very much. I enjoy daylight. What I wanted in this House of Pain is to have a place where people can go and drink a human without problem, without being bothered.
Tray of razors.
Okay.
Kiss each other with razor blades on their mouths.
Right.
And she's gonna walk here and you're gonna...
Mutilate each other for fun and leave scars and all that.
Open back massage. Okay.
But you need to really be...
On this, and then we go up and let her underneath, and then go forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, you know, that has no comparison to anything in the real world.
You have this hand over here. Action.
All right. So she's to pick it up quicker, right? And these two guys are going to get him up soon.
Earlier,
Yeah.
but more fluid.
Crazy, man.
With a wide-angle lens, and you're gonna capture the crown. And do whatever the fuck you want.
So they're good?
This couple here.
Yeah, and you're gonna come here, because you were passing, and you're gonna do it with the 3 lenses. We're gonna repeat the move. I need, Sergio, that we create a wipe here with 6 or 7 people that can repeat the move.
Reveal it.
So we're revealing it with different lenses. Boom, boom.
So you just
You
stack
start
up
with
the
a
action.
35. Start with the 35, and we'll switch to the 50.
Start tight. Got it. 35 up. Right here.
And what you need, guys, is just to always do the same thing.
So is it revealed?
You have to put out the tongue a little more.
They were fake, I mean, they were props. They were razor blades with a sharp edge.
Good. Beautiful.
I thought that was a nice image. You know, kind of a very vampiric way to kiss.
We got it. Brent, check the grade.
I mean, there was a significant amount in the script in terms of the way the film would look, but also on this film we had the advantage of Peter Frankfurt, the other producer, and I had worked together before, and Guillermo del Toro was a friend of mine, has been a friend of mine for years, and we were both familiar with Carol Spears' work, and so a lot of that, we had hoped Carol Spears would do the production design even when I was in the initial writing stages of the script, so. And I had always hoped that Guillermo del Toro would end up directing it, so we had the advantage of that all being kind of a happy family.
Carol is exactly part of that family of people you want to work with again and again, and I think that what happens is now she knows the code of things I like so easily. So every time Carol shows me a set, and if I go like here, she goes, I knew it. So here's another alternative, and it's great.
I wrote scenes to a certain extent, especially once Guillermo came on and we were rewriting the script. We wrote scenes towards Carol's strengths, knowing she was so great at doing this, or expanding certain locations because she was so good. I think she's one of the best production designers in the business.
Aside from the vision that she was able to bring to it and her ability to translate Guillermo's vision into structure, she was also able to pull off some incredible stuff in a very, very condensed time frame. But she's done an incredible job, and we're in the hallway of the House of Pain now. You've seen the actual club. These are huge sets. I mean, and you could live in these things. You know, these things are built to last. It's crazy.
Well, one of the things that surprised me about this film in terms of going from page to reality was just how damn big some of the sets are. The sewer sets for the movie, I mean, you can literally get lost in.
175 kilometers.
You've done a great job.
Not that great, I'd say.
Look down and to your left, Ron, to your left. Cut! Perfect. Print and check the gate. Very good. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Leonard. Sit down.
They said before the film will all start from inside the tunnel. They will all come out chasing Ron that way. All right? Thank you. Let go. Guys, this is picture. Picture's up. Here we go. And sliding in. Apple 104, take 2, out. And action! 1, 2, 3. Eat shit, you ugly motherfuckers! Run! Get in there! Get in there! Hey, ugly motherfuckers!
Everything is larger than life because it is a comic book.
There's no one there! Excellent print!
Everything is a little more exaggerated than what it normally would be. And I think that's sort of the unifying thing from set to set. Everything is like gigantic. I get teased a lot from my art department. They say that just because I'm working in metric here that I'm using, I think of 1 foot, instead of 1 foot, I think of 1 meter, so my sets are all 3 times as large. I think it's because Guillermo wants large sets.
Well, the style is very different from other stuff I've done. This wanted to be like almost gothic, a mixture of gothic and tech. You know, we wanted to have like this rundown industrial feeling for the Eastern Europe that we present. But at the same time, we wanted to evoke what I am attracted to the most, which is Gothic architecture.
There's a coffee table book called Dead Tech that's something Guillermo and I were looking at a lot as we were working on the script. And one of the things that's great about Eastern Europe is there's all these abandoned factories and just, half the country in Prague is that, and you can get them for, amazingly cheap. And they dovetail perfectly into what we're doing with Blade. And one of the things that Carol did so brilliantly is blended pieces that she built in with existing structures. And a lot of times you can't tell which is which.
Well, Gothic to me was the fusion of, since this movie required a different camera style and a different look from the other stuff I've done, I decided to try and integrate a very modern sensibility with a very sort of classic, almost ancient world visuals. We bring some Japanese anime style action into settings that are really much more 17th, 18th century architectural pieces, and those are fused. Like, for example, the layer of the vampires, it's a very modern building which is done in like late 20th century architecture style, but at the bottom of it all, as you go through several doors, there is a Roman temple. So it's a fusion of those things that makes it visually very interesting.
I think Guillermo handed me a book called Underground Rome and said, look at this, for inspiration.
The whole production design in this movie wanted to evoke very fantastic sets. You know, if it's the Damaskinos cryogenics chamber or the DNA chamber, whatever, it was almost like a James Bond on acid type of set, you know. And if it is Damaskinos' layer, we had Mike Mignola design it or have conceptuals for it to give it a comic book feeling. And there are some images in the movie that are completely like Mike Mignola inspired. They seem right out of the Hellboy comic.
Where we used comic books as reference on the last film on Mimic, because I mean that was a kind of a comic book thing too in another sort of way. Comic books are a very good reference for anybody to look at. It doesn't matter, comic books, video games.
We went into places that had the corroding walls that had been used to fabricate bombs make them more ancient world.
Depending on the areas we're in, I mean, to Caliban, we're just trying to keep it very bunker-like and very sort of cold, and except for this space, which is Damaskinos, which is the kind of the heart of it. Everything else is kind of very textured or aged.
This movie evokes more like a fantastic underworld, whereas the first one was much more urban. And the palette of colors in Blade 2, the first one had mostly cold colors like whites, blues, steel. And we went for completely a different hue. We went for amber nights, which are like the nights in Prague, are all done with sodium vapor lights. So we decided to go yellow and amber on the nights and blue days. So it's a very different color palette from the first one.
You know, it's a director's medium. They make it their own. But I think both myself and Goyer are in total sync with what Guillermo's doing.
That's what was liberating in Blade 2. First of all, to direct someone else's screenplay. And number two, to be directing someone else's screenplay that we had agreed to not try to make real, but to try to make a comic book. And, you know, it was great.
His basic take on the movie, and I remember sitting with he and Wesley talking about it, the three of us for the first time, and how excited Wesley got and how excited I got, was to keep the movie as exciting and surprising as the first one had been, but to really make it fucking scary. Because really, the first one wasn't scary.
Well, there's two types of horror. I think there's one type of horror which I called hide and seek, which is like in Devil's Backbone or Kronos and so forth, which is more like atmosphere. It's almost like when you're playing hide and seek and you hide in a closet, and the fear of being found out and the fear of not being found out is very ambiguous. And then there is the horror that I call tag, which is playing tag, being chased by someone or something that wants to take you. And that is more the style of the horror in this movie. It's more like a tag movie.
Yes, we have those sort of boost scare moments in this film, but there's just also a number of sequences that are very creepy that have you on the edge of your seat, and that's one of the things that Guillermo is incredibly good at. One of the things we had to do in this film, because we introduced the Reapers, which are kind of the super vampires, is we had to introduce something that even vampires themselves are scared of.
And I wanted to make a variation from the vampire with the pointed teeth, which is a thing we inherited from Lugosi's Dracula, and really has varied very little in the rest of the vampirism history. And in Kronos, I created what I considered a very unique take on vampirism from an intellectual point of view, if you will, you know, from the story and the character and so forth. And I wanted on Blade 2 to take vampire in the popular imagination right now is sort of Tom Cruise in Interview with the Vampire. This time, I wanted to revert more to the animal. I wanted these vampires to be more like leeches, to be more like just a thing that is there to take your blood, and that's it. There's no erotic exchange. There's no subtext. It's just like they just want to drain you. They're not giving you the kiss of eternity. They're not giving you nights in the moonlight. They just want to suck you dry. The first design I made of the Reapers, which was the basis of it all, it was just the idea of having a thing have a mouth that occupied almost like half of its face.
Guillermo does a lot of drawings, and I do little sketches as well. And Guillermo and myself, we always had kind of a vision in our heads of what these Reapers would look like.
Well, the Reapers originally on David's were like shape-shifting creatures, meaning they essentially could change into anything in order to get to your blood reservoir, you know? And then what I wanted to do is just have them do one single change, but make them organically, internally, completely different from vampires.
These things are as different from us as we are from you.
So I applied what I call the National Geographic approach to design, which is let's try to make it, let's reference exclusively from real life animals. And then by the end of it all, when you go and design, instead of referencing other movies, you're referencing anemone, predators that are like underwater predators and so forth. And when you do that, you end up doing a more realistic design. You know, what would happen if you know, a leech in its function is essentially not worried about its features. You cannot see a handsome leech and an ugly leech. They're all just there to do what they do, extract the blood. So I said, if these things were that efficient, then half of their face would really be just a pumping machine. So the design was originally, I started playing with the idea of their face splitting, and then I had the idea of having their mouth expand. And finally we locked into what is in the movie, which is essentially a creature that would keep its feeding apparatus like hidden, protected until it was time to feed. The first thing I did was do a quick sketch to tell them what I thought the Reaper should look like, more or less. This was quickly outdated by sketches done by far better draftmen than me.
The guy who does a lot of our renderings and our design work, Constantine, we sent him actually over to the office, and he sat there and had discussions with Guillermo for quite a while, and they came up with the look.
This undulates, it latches on, and then you see the bladders move. It kind of, our hero.
One of the things they kept talking about was very young, hip-looking, but then going in with the blood bank scene, kind of hip, edgy, strung-out, druggy sort of thing. You know, kind of like that androgynous, thin, bald. You can imagine the body-piercing thing. So it needed to be very hip and on the edge. We then did a series of clay maquettes where we sculpt out the Reaper open maw concept. And we would sculpt out in full size in clay every stage of a Reaper open maw, from just the little scar to opening a little bit more, to opening more, to the full pullback. And then bring Guillermo in and have discussions, what we want the interior of the maw to look like, how we want all of this stuff to happen.
Once the design was locked, we locked into the approach. How much of it was going to be digital, how much of it was going to be physical.
Jamie! Stand up and look at him! Good, very good, perfect!
And the combination of using physical prosthetics and CG prosthetics. We've seen a little bit of it here and there, but I don't think we've ever seen half man, half creature as a live actor ever before. I can't think of anything that's like that.
Most people these days go a lot with digital effects and not enough with physical to sell them. I like to blend both.
We've got the Nomad open mouth appliance. Now this one, we've sculpted all the way open. I know there's an issue on teeth. I hope you decide to leave the teeth in. I think it looks better myself. This entire area will be chroma key green. The teeth will be a veneer that goes on top of his lip. So I have an acrylic piece of that goes on top that'll be the teeth, so that we can actually reveal the teeth a little bit and see it makes it a little bit scarier. But all this will be green. Once again, we're going to sculpt this in relief just in case. You might not have to replace it digitally, but if you don't like it, we'll paint it green or cut it out. But this one is folded all the way back. We're thinking as well, the way this will work is we've got our edge right here. So the idea is we've got Nomak in makeup, and what we'll do is we'll say, okay, let's put him in his folded back mouth appliance. And we'll blend this on top of his makeup. It should only take about an hour or so. It will be pre-painted. And that way we can stick it right on top of his other makeup, and that's how that works.
It's when you get a director like Guillermo who just knows the techniques, and he's not scared to use everything in his whole bag of tricks, you know, and he's not a director who just wants to do CG stuff just because it's the latest, greatest thing, you know. If it's gonna work to use like a sock puppet or something, you know, in the back, he'll do that, and it's great, and he benefits from it, and you come up with a better product.
The CG that they're using for my character particularly, it's just like you think, wow, this is an unbelievable amount of work, and the expense and the kind of just the effort that's gone into these puppets, and the whole kind of behind the scenes thing is fascinating.
The proboscis, which the big tongue, was a little bit of a dilemma as far as, you know, how far does it come out and how graphic should we make it, you know. Basically, it's pretty risky.
I remember recently showing some of the footage to some friends, and I hadn't prepared them for what they were going to see. And the women literally were screaming just seeing the raw footage. So I know I can't wait to be in the first preview of this movie and the audience to watch them freak out when it happens. I mean, it's going to be amazing.
And you get sensitized to this stuff. You know, you're working on it, and it's like, God, yeah, but wouldn't it be great, you know, if he just like, you know, something really bad happened, and then you show it to like your parents, and all of a sudden you're painfully aware of how far you've gone, and just like, oh no, I've done it now, you know, and it's hard not to get too carried away with it.
They started off, you know, that there were going to be a lot more puppets than digital effects. There are some puppets in the film, but we ended up replacing more shots than we ever thought. And on set, there were times when we'd try a puppet, and then Guillermo would just say, well, let's just do the maw. And we, at that time, it was a guess that the maw would work.
The puppets were great, you know, and a lot of times there are shots in the film that are just puppets, and that's really cool, but it is a tool. And you find the same limitations as you would with just using the computer graphics.
Well, the advantage, obviously, is the mobility without the bulk and the cumbersomeness of cables and cranes and pulleys and dollies and rods and puppeteers. That is obviously the biggest advantage. Now, in terms of operation, also, you can never pack in basically less than a square foot of space as much mechanicals as you need to make it feel completely real. So the CG animated maw allows you for bigger freedom in the movement.
But the one thing that you do benefit with puppets that you really have a hard time with computer is the physicality of the material. So, you know, how it looks. It's an actual thing being photographed right there on the set.
We always wanted to combine them, but we wanted to combine them with very active maws in the move and all that being CG, and the puppets being more stationary and so forth. Ultimately, we mix and match, and we did some of each in both cases. And I think that if you combine techniques, if you use physical and CG, and make the CG as good as you can to make it physical, and make the physical as fluid as you can to make it look like CG, then the eye of the audience goes, how did he do that? And the moment they don't know, they believe. And remember, faith is only hopeful ignorance.
There was a lot of discussions with Guillermo, the director, backwards and forwards as to where we were going to take the look. A little bit of a unique look. Give it some edge. When you have a species that lives for thousands of years, you can draw from any warp of life, any era. There's a little Japanese element, there's a little hussar element, there's futuristic. I mean, it is all over the map. And that's really great to be able to bring eclectic elements together, that you're not frozen in a time period. And not just eras, but cultures. There's a little native element, there's street kids, really anything goes. And also, because this is Blade 2, carry through some of the feeling from the original Blade, but not make it a Bible. Allow there to be artistic movement.
We started doing basic concepts from my drawings and then turned them into more elaborate costume designs.
Because it morphed through several different stages, and that probably took about 2 months of sketching. There were many, many sketches that were done that we never used, where it gave the director an opportunity to see it coming to life and seeing the whole.
Since I knew I wanted to do anime or anime style thing and comic book style things, I tried to have my notes in my notebook reflect that. So I designed the first approach to the ninja and some ideas for the battle suits, for the blood pack.
With the blood pack, because their costumes are all leather, and their uniforms were really simple. Rather than going with some really complicated design and piping and padding and all of that, we made it very, very, very simple and skin tight.
You look smashing.
Thank you.
And the idea was just to make a uniform that would be both practical and very beautiful looking, since these guys would be very vain. They would be like an elite force, and they would like to be shiny and black and really, and evoke a little bit of fascist things, because I think Damaskinos is essentially a racist and a purist, and I think that he, like every supremacist, he would like his troops to look really polished.
Blade, this is Overlord Eli Damaskinos. No combinash to Barin.
He's 5,000 years old with taste, and there's a definite regal sense of I am king. Again, all very muted, but incredibly rich. He has 3 main cape outfits. One of them was a beautiful upholstery material that we had to go in and color because it was too bright. We literally went in with felt pens and colored it because it wasn't quite the right shade, but it had the right texture, and the patterns and everything were fantastic. One brocade we had handmade in England, where you can have you can pick all your own colors. The other one is an iridescent moire green. It's fuchsia on the inside and green on the outside. And it has Damaskinos seals hand-painted all over it. And that's the one that he walks into the bloodbath in. Scud was really fun because it was the one place where we decided to put a little color. And so Scud's wardrobe was street grunge, but it would have been so easy, again, just to go black. We'd done almost everything in the movie black. But we decided that this would be fun if we sort of tipped him over the scales and just made, like almost everything he has on is red. Right down to his shoes are red. But when again, it's all these different shades of red, and just shades of distressing, or where they're just these different levels where some things he's always had for years, and he really does look like this, weeded out hippie, ex-hippie something or other. I don't know.
All right. Buck's got a brand new bag.
Everything was made for the show, with the exception of Whistler. We bought a few things for Whistler and Scud, but every other piece of wardrobe for the main cast was built. So we probably had 120 other outfits or more because they have so many pieces. I mean, they all have so much of everything because of all the different activities that go on. It's a lot. And then there's a big background scene in the House of Pain where there were 450 extras. That was pretty amazing to get, 450 Czech extras looking like vampires. It was a lot of fun, and they were really great to work with. Blade was established so strongly in the first movie, so to be able to make him a little bit more high-tech, a little bit more conscious of style, everything is just a little better quality. The original style is maintained, but it's enhanced. So we took elements of the design because he has this beautiful design tattoo.
He's had a lot more adventures, so every time he has a great adventure, he adds more tattoos to symbolize that adventure.
We took elements and used that, so there was a little bit of embellishment on the wardrobe, but as an insignia more than just design for the sake of design. One of the other things that was really difficult through the whole movie, and particularly with Blade's costume, was dealing with black. Almost all the wardrobe in this movie is black. Between the texture and the light refraction and the shade of black it was, how many shades of black can you make? Well, you could actually make an infinite number. So that all the materials in his clothes, there is a separation between all of the pieces, and it's all the different shades of black. He doesn't look like just a black hole, because sometimes if you have someone in a black wool suit, it is just a walking head. From the original movie, there was a sense that he didn't have anything on him that wasn't useful. A very street smart, practical Blade. And the costume originally had a lot of heavy buckles and things like that that were very cool looking and looked like they had some purpose. What we did was we took that same philosophy and stylized it. For example, we actually had those buckles custom made. So they're a unique shape. Also, you can't tell how they close. Actually, it's all magnetized. So it's still utilitarian, but it has a lot of style. And that was sort of carried through with other elements of it too. The materials that we used in his pants look like they're leather, but they're actually this latex-covered lycra, so they're completely flexible so he can fight in them without there being any need for a special pair of pants for him to move into for that. And then, because there was a lot of action in the water, we took the finest neoprene fabric, which also has a lot of elasticity to it. When you're standing still, they look really smart. They're really, because you don't, usually with neoprene, it's skin tight. Well, we made it like regular pants, but it had a thermal quality for when he was in the water.
I get so much satisfaction from it.
Marv, how you doing?
I mean, when we get into, the more radical elements of the script, then you get to have some fun. And Guillermo's having a great time, so it's great to be able to watch the director be a little boy and try and bring to life what a little boy would be fantasizing about. It's really great.
There was a really neat moment when Peter Frankfurt and I, the other producer, first came to Prague, where Wesley had his first costume fitting. And it had been 4 years since he played the character. And he put on the costume this time, and he, buckled up the harness, and he put on the coat, and he drew out the blade. And it had been 4 years since he'd done it, and he drew it out, and it was just Wesley and Peter Frankfurt and the costumer and myself in the room, and he drew out the blade, and he said, looked in the mirror and said, "Oh yeah, I'm back." And it was just such a great moment 4 years later. It was really fun.
And that's what makes it exciting. That's what we like about Blade. Get your laid out. And it has not only the whole horror dynamic, it has comedy as well. It looks great. This one is going to look even more beautiful than the first one. And then it has this whole martial arts stylized and sometimes vicious action dynamic, which you don't usually find all of this in one film.
essentially two fight choreographers. Donnie Yen, who is one of my most admired martial arts actors and artists from the Hong Kong movies he's done.
Honestly, in the beginning, I didn't expect to be participating in this film, and when Guillermo called,
actually, we had to tame it down a little bit in how whimsical it was, because Blade's fighting style is not acrobatic; it's more street. It's very violent, very direct, and hard punching.
Blade's system of fighting is kind of whatever works.
he has his own little flavor, you know, and I respect that, I appreciate that. I actually don't think you should always follow the set pattern of a choreographer or a director.
It's I'm gonna hit you with this, I'm gonna stab you with that, I'm gonna cut you with that.
3, 2, 1, action!
It's all about the emotion of a character.
Take care. Marv. Hey, Marv. 3, 2, 1, action!
He could be expressing himself in a very still, emotional way. Or he can express himself in a very physical way.
If I can pick this bottle up over here, I'm gonna bottle you to death.
It all comes from within, so therefore, Wesley, as Blade, he has his own unique character. So every move, punch and kicks comes from Wesley Snipes playing Blade.
He uses whatever he can, he doesn't care.
By that, by all means, that is originality. So therefore, you know, he should go ahead and continue to maintain that
street style,
that uniqueness.
The second one was Jeff Ward, who was the choreographer on the first movie, and whom I had the tightest collaboration. I really think that Jeff is a genius. I think he is one of the most gifted, inventive, enthusiastic, virtuoso choreographers I've ever met, and his stuff is always original.
Jeff has been with me since Streets of Gold days, and together, he comes up with structure, I come up with some of the crazy, ridiculous stuff, and we put it together, and he can execute it.
We go back as far as 12 years ago, and our friendship, our whole collaboration on films and everything, we've developed this relationship that carries through on each project.
He's the structure and form to much of what you see is the action dynamic to Blade. And he's a great martial artist as well. And then you throw Clay Fontenot in there, who's my stunt double.
Go, please, go, please. Out. 3, 2, 1, action! 3, 2, 1, action!
Wesley came into this like raring to go because we had discussed this early on, and we started our preparation way before, and we formulated everything that we really want to try to get across on this. And when it comes to me designing things for him, it's like a 50-50 collaboration on things. I set it up and design it for the things that he can do and the things that he wants to do in terms of the fights.
3, 2, 1, go. Right leg, left leg. You guys do right leg, straight down. It'll be the ankle. Okay, it's the knee move, camera right.
Charlie 136, Apple Charlie, take 2, A Marv.
Once more. That's all we can fight. Out. Out. Action! 3, 2, 1, go!
The movie, first of all, introduced a whole new way of looking at martial arts in the West that had a lot of influence from the East, but it had a very urban American take on it. The way the camera was used was to almost very balletic dance around the fights, dance around in a choreographic way with the fights. And
coming up, and so that we know that we're not going to duplicate anything or, just bring it to a different level each time, each battle.
And on top of that, we wanted to do something different than The Matrix or Crouching Tiger. We wanted to go back to more hard-hitting style of action, because I think people, the moment you see, Cameron Diaz fly in the air and she's incapable of flying in the air and kicking 5 guys, you realize that it's done with wires, and I think that wire fu style fighting was a little worn down. I mean, Charles Angels was great, but it was almost satirical. And I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin, so we went for a non-wire fu style of fighting. And fusing some digital manipulation of the stuff with the real stunts. And we go with some of the actions to places and following the characters in ways that a normal camera would not do. And the fusion seems very good to me.
I'm ready.
Because our visual effects is huge and our action sequences are going to be 10 times better than the first one. With our fight sequence that we have coming up, he has multiple attackers coming at him. So things like that where it's an opportunity to really show off the blade sword, but I think we're going to go somewhere else and somewhere completely different. Everybody's expecting him to do this thing, so that's where I have to pull a rabbit out of my hat for some new variety,
Wesley listens to everybody's ideas, the two choreographers, the visual stuff I want to do, and then he does what I call, he brings the bladeness in.
We call it keeping it funky.
Every time you would say a move, you would, for example, propose a move, he would say, that's not a blade way to do it. What if we do this?
It's got to be funky.
And he would come up with absolutely really great ideas. And he's a guy that is, aside from everything, he has one thing in common with me. We are both fans I mean, the guy knows the Donnie Yen movies. The guy knows all the Hong Kong movies.
It's better to work with a director who is a fan of action genres than not, because then you can explain things to him and he'll get it quicker.
One thing about horror genre or this type of stuff is that you don't have to worry about subtlety. You know, you can just, I mean, it's an element, but you can kind of really have fun playing with timbre and sound and rhythm, and you can make your scores bombastic. And from a compositional standpoint, it's a lot of fun because, you know, that's the type of stuff when you're trained 20th century music and everything. It's really sound exploration. Derivative material happening orchestrally, things that, you know, have been said already by 19th century composers or whatever, and the language isn't that new, but I think there are new ways of approaching stuff, that's why I do this, you know. If I felt like I was doing the same thing all the time, I wouldn't be interested in it. I may as well, you know, lay bricks or something. I usually don't like to work on the movie too early because start working from script, it's really deceiving. We're not making music for a screenplay. And especially in a movie like this, which is so stylized, reading the script, I had no idea the movie would look the way it does. And if I had written the music based on the script, it'd be a different score. Guillermo asked me to write some melodies for him when he was shooting. When I got back, I got a rough cut of the movie. Started putting some ideas, themes together. And then I met with Guillermo. He came over to my studio, played him my ideas, and just took off from that. You know, we spotted the movie late, so I just sort of, you know, put music where I thought it should go. It turned out music is like, maybe there's 5 minutes that don't have music in it. But, so it was pretty easy to spot in that respect. But, you know, I sort of had a sense, I'd worked with Guillermo before, I sort of had a sense of the type of, emotionally, the type of things that he was going for in the scenes.
I'm insisting on it all depends on how the movie does. It will not come out at the same time as the soundtrack.
No, that's
It'll come out 4 or 5 months.
But I mean, I think they play 15-minute increments, so maybe they'll at least put 45 minutes of music on.
Yeah. Well, what I told him is that what would be nice is to have an interview as liner notes, an interview with both of us.
Yeah.
You know, where we just discuss. And you know, some of the cues.
How subtle it was?
No. You know what is funny is this is the
Like, I remember our first meeting on Mimic.
Yeah.
Nothing that we discussed came through. You know what I'm saying? Nothing at all.
The only I remember you talking about widows.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing that you wrote for the as a Mimic sound. Yeah. And then I played it, I remember saying,
what the fuck is that?
Get rid of that shit.
No, but the thing is, in this case, whatever we discussed came true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The combining of codo and orchestral and techno.
Yeah.
It worked. So, you know, it's one of those rare occasions where we can be, you know, talking about it.
Yeah. We don't discuss scenes a lot, like the meaning of the scene and what the music needs to do, that kind of stuff. As I mentioned before, like Guillermo will say, give me some butt willies here or something, you know.
You'll get all the butt willies and all the little things.
At 1 o'clock? Yeah. Well, are we going to go out and grab a bite, or should we plan on staying here?
I'm going to go and have a meeting.
Once the concept is there and we have a language together and I play him stuff, it's pretty much a question of, you know, if I can amp something up or get out of the way for this. It's more, comes down to almost more technical.
You will do something more open for the love theme, no?
I can do that now.
Something big.
Something big? I think it's...
No, like what I mean minimal. But something like... that is also not sappy. Whatever strings you use should be the non-sappy one.
Yeah. I'm thinking what we should do is like everybody play the melodic line slow and harmonics, just strings only.
Yeah, strings only. And get rid of all the woodwinds and brass. And maybe opening stuff. That chordal stuff. If you get rid of that, then it's just a basic string chart after
we should
that.
Just do the melody. Just the melody. I wonder if you could write something quick, just transcribe.
Just for low strings? For string violas and cellos
just
playing?
Give everybody the melody, and then we just do it in harmonics, and I'll do it at a slow tempo, like chord note equals 50. All right, and if we don't do it right now, we'll do it at the end of the day.
Let's do that. Let's do that, because then I can take the second violin part, which has it, and just copy it for everybody.
Yeah,
play the right octave.
Why don't you do that?
Let's do it at the end.
We'll do it at the end.
So which one is named?
We have 2 more gestures, and then we got, they're all little cues. And we have to do the 3 and 13. I'd like you to be here for 3 and 13. That's the scaffolding fight. Because I'm afraid, you listen, I'm afraid the orchestra may have a little too much fun with it.
You think? What do you have?
Like a lot of disco horns and strings.
No, you have horns and strings?
Yeah.
I think horns are not going to work, do you?
Yeah, well, you'll have to hear the way they're used.
What happened? Did you record it or you will?
I ran it through before and I wasn't sure I wanted you to be here.
Yeah.
But I think we should do it after lunch.
Yeah. Do you think the horns are too much of a statement?
I mean, the way they're used now is, I think it might be too fun.
Too fun?
Yeah.
Like too fun to listen to?
Too funky.
Too funky? Yeah. With horns? The horns are doing funky shit? No, that's gotta be Batman. The TV series, you know? No, do you think that, but do you have the strings, do you have...
I have strings playing in it.
Like cello or...
Yeah. What I'll do is,
that would work.
Yeah, we can just tacit pick out the horn stuff.
And the strings are long.
It'd be fun to hear it, because I'm really kind of curious.
Oh, good.
But I think it'd probably work.
Let's hear the ones.
I was too timid to do that.
Yeah. No, I'd be afraid about that.
dress for this stuff?
Of course, for my next film. Before he moves on, I would like one pass of just the wooden thing. Quick. Penderecki has entered the room now.
Somebody didn't get the note. Part.
Guillermo would like this first section if we could have it much quicker.
Let me do it. Hold on. Marco, he's on drugs. Don't listen to him. What is it? Marco, listen to me. Only to me. Don't listen to Marco. He's insane. He has been masturbating for the last 5 minutes in a corner. Whispering your name. What I need, Marco, is just the wooden element that sounds like a spidery element. If you could do a quick rise and fall for when for like an isolated Reaper or the Reaper climbing the wall or something like, a really quick one, up and down.
Are you just talking about the wood block or the strings too?
It was just whatever, just the wood block going, not the strings. Whatever the fuck you call that thing that they used to play.
Let's do the whole thing one more time. Before we start, I'd like to get just the opening woodblock stuff.
And Book has been masturbating, by the way.
Solo. Let's do a little crescendo in the window. Do it a couple times. And then the same take, we'll bring it in place. Nobody play after the down to 38.
How's the fucked up shit?
All right, here we go. You ready?
Right.
One more active, if you could.
One more, a little more.
Another time, a little longer.
More active.
Yeah, more active.
More active. More active. One more, Marco, please.
One more. More active.
No, it's fine.
It's the running one.
Yeah. Everyone.
The running.
Yeah.
Cool. That's good.
Right? Nice.
Right.
Thank you, Marco. God bless. This is very nice. I feel like what we'll go with the shorter version of the sewers. All right. There now. 60s. there are many moments in the post-production of a movie where you feel the movie takes a big step. It's a bit like building a house and coming 1 week and you see all the foundation and all that, but when you see the walls up, you go, oh, it's a house. And that happens to me with when I change from hearing a temp, even if it's the temp of the score, to hearing the score itself. I go like, oh wow, it's a movie. Shot coming out of the screen and seeing all the musicians in there. You want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead. All right.
Is it recording?
How was that? Let's get another one. It was a little loose, and we could pull back on the flutes.
At the edge?
Yeah.
You guys just innuendo a little bit faster. That's great.
So we use that tune, measure 3.
I don't think vampires exist as they are portrayed in the mythology and the lore of movies and novels and literature and so forth. If they do, I apologize. But I don't think they exist, but I think that it's great. I don't find it terrible that someone just decides to live that role. And, as long as there's no harm to the third person and they buy their blood properly, it's like, we all live a fantasy. I mean, I think I am a director, So what's the difference between me thinking that or being a vampire? It's probably more elaborate a paranoid fantasy to be a director than to be a vampire. So, God bless you all and enjoy it. Enjoy it while it's legal. I suspect, in my personal theory, like an anthropologist with a pipe, I suspect this is the way we deal with cannibalism. I mean, I think that there was a time where we must have eaten each other. And the way you deal with it is through mythology. I mean, the way people dealt with the sun rising and falling was mythology. With rain falling or not was mythology. So the way you deal with a past as terrible as that as humanity, as a genre, is by inventing a myth. But I think that vampirism is part of that impulse, the animal impulse of the animal, the man animal, if you want, like a wolf would eat a wolf, probably, if not an intellectual creature, man would probably eat a man. And the way you deal with those impulses is create a nice, scary story to go with them. I think that vampirism as a phenomenon, or the vampire as a symbol, is absolutely, open to interpretation in many, many ways. Vampirism is an addiction. It can be interpreted as an erotic proclivity, can be interpreted as a religious analogy. It can be, it lends itself to play with it. You can make it political, you can make it social, sexual, anything. When you read about vampirism all over the world, you realize that every culture has interpreted the vampire in a certain way. Malaysian vampires, for example, detach from the body and use their intestines to wrap around the victim and so forth. Chinese vampires are different. They can turn into foxes, into cats, so on and so forth. Mexican vampires look like chihuahuas in a way. They are completely hairless, and they do not have pointed teeth, and you can continue.
Vampires do have a universal appeal because they're sexy. They're monsters, but they're still human monsters. They look human, and they effectively live forever.
Vampires are very cool and very sexy in a way. It's something like they're evil, but you're drawn to them because, like with Dracula, he's a babe magnet, So I think that people just they think it's exciting. It's a very sexual thing or erotic thing with vampires and all the biting and all that kind of thing.
I think any child, when you tell him a vampire story, will start opening his eyes and start, fantasizing about it. It's so deeply engraved in our culture, in our, fantasies, in our fears and dreams, sucking out blood, living out of flesh, the thirst. And it's such a, for me, it's such a sexual thing still, because it's sensual and it's carnal.
The fascination of young people with vampires is because that's the only age where you can think you're going to live forever. And when you feel like that, and you throw absolutely every caution to the wind, you truly are immortal for a little bit. And I think that is what makes it, both vampirism and youth, very fragile and very beautiful.
Truth is, I think a lot of people would want to be vampires. I mean, you don't really age. If you get hurt, you regenerate. You're stronger than humans. You're faster than humans. The sex is probably better than human sex. So why not be a vampire? It's kind of a sexy proposition.
Goyer's on crack. No, I don't think everybody. I think that a lot of people, especially when you're young, and when you're really old, I think that in the middle you're too busy paying the bills. Or trying to get out of kindergarten with your eyes intact. I think that when you're young, you dream of preserving that youth and that freedom. And when you're really old, you long for that youth that you lost. But I think that the secret desire to live eternally it's a very romantic notion of vampirism.
I was tired of the Anne Rice vampire sensibility. Not that she hasn't made a huge contribution to the genre, but I just think that kind of thing has dominated vampire films for so long that we wanted to take it in a different direction.
It's almost Byronian. It's very much like the Byronian vampire comes to fruit in Anne Rice's novels. It's the romantic hero per excellence. In Kronos, it was more about making a little tale about Catholic guilt, addiction, religious catharsis, and so forth, and about a guy that finds out that he is alive only after he dies, and how worthy his life really was, and how you really reach immortality when you give up everything. A very Catholic view. And with us, we try to deal with them in other terms. They are, as I said, they can be the drug dealers of that universe. Or they can be, in this case, the dirty dozen of the universe. But you can deal with them in terms that are more pulpish and more comic. Anne Rice's sensibility is more high-reaching and more literary and more, the aspirations are more Byronian. We're just pulp. We're just pure pulp, and I like it. I love the idea of taking something pulp and then elaborating it visually with a lot of care. I think that the product that comes out is really a very nice confection. I hope one day to do a movie about vampires that have been alive for so long that they don't really care about anything anymore. Because I really think that after 500 years, you would get a little jaded. The movie is more similar in every way to a comic book than the first one, including the fact that you should just really sit back, eat your popcorn, and have fun. And the story is going to be taking twists and turns here and there. And quite frankly, neither David nor I were worried about making this real, as everybody seems to be worried these days. We wanted to make it fun.
It's important to me, I think, from a kind of fan credibility level, that this film, or these films, this franchise, have an integrity to them that's true to the comic books. And one of the things that's a little different from Blade, from some of the other more well-known characters like Spider-Man or Captain America, is he always was a very dark character, so it's appropriate that these films be R-rated. And you can get away with a little more in these films than you could in Spider-Man or Captain America. But, you know, I think they're true to the comic book sensibility.
What we did very well was capture the tone of a comic book, and Guillermo's a total comic book geek. He's got a huge, I think, like a quote-unquote important collection of comic books. So he understands the tone very well. And in that sense, whether his style is slightly more Gothic or Baroque, darker, the tone, I think, is still going to be quite consistent.
Well, Guillermo was weaned on comic books, as was I. I was a huge comic book collector when I was a kid. I have letters published in Captain America comics and some DC comics. And I remember when I was 10 or 11 years old, riding my bike out to a drugstore and buying Tomb of Dracula comics, in which Blade was a character. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy that here I am writing these Blade movies.
The main thing with a comic book movie is to be done intelligently by someone that really knows the genre as a literary genre. I think that so often you hear someone is adapting a comic book movie and they think they're adapting a movie for retards. And in reality, it's an extremely sophisticated, extremely difficult, incredibly complex language that comic books have. And it's, for me, a form of art. There are comic books that stand right next to a Thomas Cole painting as a masterpieces, or the Mona Lisa, or anything you want. For me, there are comic books that are that great as a humanity-created piece of expression. And I approach that with enormous respect and discipline and try to translate that to the screen. You know, there are different types of comic books as there are different types of movie. And I wanted this to be the comic books that I read as a young guy that made me excited and action-packed, and that had the kind of exaggerated language that Jack Kirby, for example, would have. And I wanted to give the movie that kind of exaggerated language. You know, run the explosions, which are going to be treated to be like a Jack Kirby explosion in a comic book. The ultimate effect of that is going to even have the trademark Jack Kirby style explosion power dots. That, if you know the comic book style, it's very evident. We also push certain sounds beyond a real movie, like a movie that reflects reality, and I tell them it's a comic book. So please make this sound like a comic book door, meaning crack, you know, where you read the sound. Bang. Bang in a comic book is bang. In reality, it's it's not good. The style of dialogue there is it has a certain awkwardness that makes it uniquely comic book, like must reach the lever or I will die, you know, or like limb is broken in two, must get up, you know, like things that are completely, no one talks like that or even thinks like that. But Goyer now and then hits it just perfect in the movie. You know, certain lines just have that same comic book feeling.
You have been our most feared enemy. But now there's something else loose on the streets.
You want to catch the hunter. You start with the prey.
Wesley has an uncanny thing. And I don't know, it's completely part of his nature. I know he doesn't try to do that, or at least I don't think he does. But every single time he stops in a movement, and where he starts from a movement, are perfect comic book poses. Perfect. Like you can freeze frame that, and it's a comic book frame.
This is VFX BB for CE. We'll be doing genomics transformation, and our cameras are a C camera with the 100mm, A camera with the 50. We have 4 circle lights with the 2 feet kinoflows, and the glass actually has a green tint to it, and to match it we need to use a plus half a green, even though there is no filtration, but this glass is making it into plus half green. Stake 1.
Second track.
Business.
This is a good news, bad news scenario here. Good news for us. Bad news.
What do you do?
Here in the back we have a 2K with the golden amber, but it shouldn't affect our face, it's just a rim light in case he turns to the side. That's what is giving us a little rim light there.
This is 4H. The lighting is the same as on the previous. Overhead lights here. D camera is up tight on the hands. Steady cam will be here on the active. Tracking markers are on the back wall. 1 tracking marker. The other tracking marker. 1 tracking marker here. And 1 tracking marker here on this light.
3, 2, 1, action! All right.
Active position.
That was Nomak's
Okay,
original
last spin again.
Same lighting. That is the keynote flow. This is 4L.
1 second. All right, everybody ready? Action! Lower and action!
Our only light is 800 with the full blue on it. Here is a little bit of a backlight. Louis, the backlight is Janabim 2K. This is a 2K with the full blue, little bit of a backlight. Distance looks like 3 feet 4 inches, 3. So they set up an effect fire there just for the flare, but that brought a little smoke here, so our setup is slightly diffused from the 4U.
Speed. Action!
Hold it. Hold it right there. Luke. Hold it right there. Hold it right there. Nailed it.
This is take 6.
Action! Point it at the camera. Hold on your dog. And point it at the camera. Now! Cut! Freeze!
So we are back in Scott's workshop, and we are gonna be doing a ninjas on top, but this is a reveal, it's a crane shot, it's just on the tail of the shot. You see this blue lighting here up front, but that doesn't really affect our ninjas. This is the camera in the end position. Then the camera is going to be 180 and it's going to be tilting up and revealing the top, and the ninja is going to be up there in the rafters somewhere.
Cell phones off. Out. And action!
This is SW2. It's a pushing on ninjas.
Okay, stop slowing down a little bit. Go down. Let's go.
SW6, take one.
This is SW5. It's a reverse of the SW3 where Nisa jumps over Blade. This is after she lands, a Blade jumps. And the lighting setup is similar as before, except that they took the 12 lights, the 512 lights with the deep blue, they took them down and brought them closer. And on top there we have a 10K with the half CTO, and in previous reference I was incorrect. I slated them as a clean, but they had a half CTO on. So this is a correction which I will mark in a diagram. Now camera is down here. She's gonna hang and fall into the shot, and Blade is gonna run this way, jump on that cabinet and jump over towards here.
6 69, scene 69, take 2, VFX P. Priest is bitten by Reaper. Gabby?
Hit it.
3, 2, 1, action!
I'm gonna have a block of camera here. Our cameras are these two. This one is lock up and this one is pan and tilt. That's the blue spotlight as before. Here are two kinoflows, 32, and here is a soft light, but it doesn't really go to our character. And here in the hallway is gonna be a guy carrying a flashlight. Well, I don't think the flashlight is gonna really do much. This is the take 3 coming up.
Roll, please.
Coming up.
Speedy.
Raise your head back. And to the right. To the right. Stand more. And shoot it.
What?
Very good. Stop, ready. Stop.
What's speeding? What's speeding?
Hi, this is VFX HB, and what is happening, the Reaper is being punched with the sword to the wall, and we're gonna do some more stuff. And I'm gonna walk straight where he is, and on top there is an effect light, it's a spotlight, and basically that's almost all of the lights, because these are very dim and they just don't contribute to the shot very much. Here is that flashing, which might be doing a little fill, but not really a lot. But then there are those two little spotlights there. Our camera is the Steadicam, and this is take 1. There has been correction in the lighting. At the take 3, they moved the light. This is the 1K, and it was right above there, and they moved it here. It's a 1K reflector.
This is X71W, take 3.
3, 2, 1,
Take 4.
action.
Take 15. Take 18.
So our Reaper was here, camera just moving through here. This is our gaffer, soft light, 2.5K, 4 Kino flow. This is an 8-bang, that's the strongest one. That's a steel blue on a 20K. And here from the left we have a 1K with the half blue. We have a 650 with the half blue and a 216. And this is our scene.
Here we go, rehearsing!
Here are 2 cameras. Possibly both of those are going to be our shot. We're going to be putting a Marv on the Reaper, which stands right where the cameraman is. On top there we have a, I think it's a 10K in the water, HMI, 5500. It's a 5K with a steel blue. On the top there's also some steel blue coming up from. And here by me it's another steel blue. More, we have a camera here on the crane. 2, 3 cameras. One Reaper that just comes from here and one comes from behind him, and here are 2 bright lights, this one and then one is up there.
3, 2, 1!
And this was take 3, and here we have on the left it's the 5K with the steel blue, and on top we have the 20K with the steel blue. Blade is going to be running through this hallway. The camera is in front of him and the Reapers are chasing him, and they're going to be going up the columns and ceilings. As you can see, the pools of lights, they cross by 5K with the half CPO coming from above. And also there are 2 red heads with the steel blue, and one faces this way, another faces that way. And there's 9 of these openings. I'm just gonna walk through and to show the markers. This is the end position, and we have markers here on the left side.
Okay, guys, let's lock it up. Let's put us on a bell.
That light in the back, about 3 meters high. Cam was running 30 frames, Steadicam is 35mm lens. It's a 3 cam. There's a Steadicam which goes from right to left. We have a pen and tilt on a zoom around 140. And we have a crane which is moving in.
Okay, mounting up.
Technocrane rig.
That's perfect. That would be the cut. I was deeply moved.
You got a fair bit of rich geometry there.
Baby with quarter CTO, it's full spot. All it's doing is putting a little under, just sitting on top. Exposure is exposure. Around this corner, hitting this back wall, is a 750 zip light, quarter CTO, little glow on the wall. Lighting this painting off the right back corner behind the elevator is a Mole 407 quarter CTO full spot with a single. And it's just set to off. Once again, art 24, 1K, Parkans, MFL, Lee 104. Poetry on time. Backlight Lee 104 gel. It's our key light at a 3/4 kick angle. As you continue to the right behind the obelisk, there's a 1K mole par. It's doing a floor bounce off to the left to light that wall. It's a medium flood 104 Lee gel. As you move up to the balcony, moving down the wall a bit, is about 6 feet down the wall is a 5K. It's our backlight to camera angle. It's a 4-stop. To the right of it is a 2K Baby Junior, which is a bounce off the floor behind the obelisk, with a little separation in the silver wall. One of the virtues I find in storytelling is not cutting, is really making the most out of each shot and then saying, okay, that's enough, the shot is dead, let's move on. But what if we made a shot in an action sequence so active that you could stay on it for 30, 40 seconds? It gives it the feel of hyper-reality.
When we took on the job, we knew that this was part of the deal. You know, we had to get a realistic stunt double that would be able to be seamlessly transitioned with the live Wesley Snipes.
And it has to be seamless, so we have to match all of his mannerisms, all of his movements, all of his expressions, everything exactly, and that's the hard part.
On a shot like the alley jump shot, there are a number of different steps involved in the creation of it. The initial photographic plate that we shot of Wesley Snipes landing off of scaffolding, he was hanging about 3 feet off the ground. Well, we take this, and this is going to be kind of our bookend of our shot. So everything that happens before the shot is going to be artificial. We spent a lot of time photographing the sets that were being used or the locations that were being used, and then other parts of the city. We were in Prague in the Czech Republic, so we ended up taking pictures from the roof pointing a different direction for a nice city skyline and gluing that stuff in. So what you end up doing is kind of collaging some of the best or your favorite parts of the city into one shot.
And then we basically put him on a turntable in front of a grid and took, stills of, side view and front and back.
The camera was all very square. We used a relatively narrow lens for, as little distortion as possible. And we photographed him under a very controlled set of lights.
So this is what we ended up with, is basic geometry. And then the painters took this and worked on the coloration and the skin texture and all the displacement for his hair, reflections in the glasses, and, of course, all of the tattoos. It's like a stuntman in that it's doubling for your actor, and it can do things, or it's intended to do things that would be too dangerous or not possible for an actor. In this case, you would never be able to do that with a stuntman.
The plan was to build a green screen airbag 3 stories up in the air outside of a building. And the stunt guy was going to jump out of the building, land in the airbag. But again, because of the shooting schedule, things always go a little crazy on location and stuff, so we decided that we could save time and perhaps money by just treating it as a visual effects shot from the get-go. We really ask as much as possible the performers to run through the actions on set. So if somebody had to jump 10 feet high, we would ask the performer to jump 2 feet high, or to do a move that was somewhat similar, to the move that we were going to do. Or sometimes we would break the moves up and say, well, if you can start the beginning of the jump here, and then over here, could you duplicate the landing? So then we would have an actual human reference to be able to refer to and say, well, you know what, that's what it looks like. And if we want to deviate, we can, but at least we can all agree upon this is what it could look like.
Set of the stuntmen saying, well, you're taking away our work, and we weren't taking away anyone's work. We were hired to do something that they couldn't do.
What they do is actually, it's more impressive to me than what the CG stunt double can do, what the human being is capable of doing. Some of the shots I would be seeing, the dailies of some of the shots, and in one shot, Clay, Mr. Snipes' stunt double, he was jumping over a motorcycle that was crashing down the alley, so the stunt rider drives a bike at the guy, he jumps over it. I saw it on a video screen, so I just figured, wow, they did a good job of hiding those wires, I didn't see any wires as he jumped about, like 4 feet in the air as a bike slid under him, I asked him a little bit later, and he's like, no, there were no wires. He just jumped over the bike, like, whoa, that's impressive. I mean, to me, because that's the real stuff.
When it's the actor in full prosthetic makeup, but he has to open his maw right on camera, and the trick there was trying to figure out how to add this thing onto the actor's face and not have it slide around or skate around, and how the blend, from where the CG element and the real skin was gonna work. And you run into the same problems that you do in prosthetic makeup. It's where to hide the seam, And so we came up with something that was a little different. We started off with the photographic plate of the vampire, and this is the actor, and he's in full prosthetic makeup, which is great. We put these 2 little locating dots on his chin because we weren't sure if we were going to need those to be able to lock in and have the match movers have some kind of reference on where his jaw was. We ended up he had so much vein work painted on him, we were able to use that to kind of lock in and track. So after the match move head was tracked onto the photographic plate, we were able to go ahead and animate the maw opening on the computer version, and then we used that geometry to warp the photographic plate. So this is still the photographic plate. It's just taken all of this image of his jaw and stretched it out and made it conform to the open maw. And on top of that, we add the computer graphic interior of the maw with the proboscis, which is the big reaper tongue that comes out. And that's been added in. Everything is lit according to the same lights. We take, when we're on the set, we take reference of where all the lights are. And so we can use that information so that the rim light is still hitting from the same side and the same intensity. And then the comping department then adds like a blushing effect and adds more coloration, adds color. Guillermo wanted the eyes to go blood red. Basically, these things are very pale, but when they latch onto to the character, they're like a huge vacuum cleaner, and they just suck all of the blood out of these things forcefully. And so Guillermo wanted a definite color change to happen as they drained their victim, called it the blush. And then we added a network of veins over that. So, and then there's the final movement. So it's just, to me, it's really cool because you don't expect it. You don't see, it doesn't look fake. You know, you're still benefiting from the actor's real eyes in all of his performance. And then you've got this really nasty, thing happening underneath. And it just, I don't know, I think I'm really happy with it. I think it looks real.
Little embryo. This is our sculpture that we'll be mass producing the 200 out of. What we have here are the small baby embryos being painted with little vein work. These are the heroes, and then we have 150 to go of the other ones. So what we have here is the large embryo that Bernie has been working on. Bernie, you want to say a few things?
Nice and see-through. You can see very well through there. You can see kind of stuff.
This here holds it down. Bend it down so it forces the bottom into the water. There's an air pocket in the top that makes it float, and there's little tubes and things that you can see stuff moving around on the inside.
Good afternoon and welcome to the autopsy video. Here we have the finished Reaper. No, I'm kidding, of course. What we got here is a mock-up of the Copan Reaper with all the organs. This is the rib cage, which I do believe will be cut open nearer the time. So basically, all of these organs will be made out of a very, very special type of silicon, which is baked at a very high temperature. It'll be very, very gloopy.
Okay, here we've cast up some of the organs. This is that thermal sex toy stuff.
This is the basic layout there. They have with their lungs and the heart back there. on our special little, I'm not sure what that is.
This is the thing that's going to have its little anus mechanism. Little butt. Oh, look at this. It's already there. This will fit inside of there. And it'll do that, this. Yeah, so it'll get that big and it'll go that small. It's pretty exciting, isn't it? That's great. Get it really big. Okay.
Lower intestine there. Rib cage. What will happen with this rib cage is it will be moulded, and there'll be very, very brittle polymer ribs made, which will be able to cut and then shatter quite nicely. As I'm sure you're aware, all these organs will pulsate and be fully operational, so you can cut them open with a razor. To go over the top of this, once all this is completed, will be this. Obviously not this piece here. This is just the former. But this will be made out of a fatty kind of silicone, which you'll be able to cut open, and that will over the top of that. So obviously once that's in silicone, you can cut that, peel it back. Over the top of that will be a muscle layer as well, which is represented by this fat form. This is just so you can see the layers. That'll go straight over the top, so that'll be able to, something else you can cut open there and peel back. And then of course the silicone skin over that. So that's it.
Down here, we got the legs, the first half of the mold made for the autopsy, the guard. Just got to pour the second half and finish that up. Same thing happening with the upper body on the guard. Just got to pour the second half on this. Here we've got the upper body for the guard. This is the autopsy body. We're just laying the chest appliance on it now. And the next thing I'll show you are some of the beginning organs for the autopsy. They're just rough casting so far, but it'll give you an idea. This is the heart cover for the autopsy, once again. So you can see the heart will be beating. Under there. Here you can see some of the organs beginning. The lungs, these are thermal gels, so they're really nice. One of the other pieces here. Here we've got the carapace that covers the heart for the autopsy. It's rigged to inflate a little bit. It's not set up right now, but it will be, so it'll it's all segmented so that when it pumps, it'll do that. Here we've got the guard's upper body, and this is what we're going to do for his eyes. We've got them a little bit cataracted since he's dead. They're not going to be quite this dark, but somewhat like that. Okay, here we've got the arm for the guard. We've not yet put his wound on. This straps on. Somehow. Straps onto the gun. There's his arm. We're going to chew it up there.
Here's a scene where she cuts her finger and then the drop of blood goes down into the organ. What will happen as soon as it goes down, it will kind of flex into it, move around, and then open back up. So it has the capability of getting larger and then sucking and moving it around. Also at the same time, it will have a, as the blood drops into the center, this bottom part will suck down too. Kind of see that. The bottom part will suck down, and then from there it will close over. Kind of move around. There you go.
Over here, we're doing a map out for the test paint on the guard autopsy. One reason we're doing this is we don't want to make any mistakes on the full body and lose translucency.
mean, I need to put it here, Julian. I cannot do it without disturbing the film. This is the last.
Oh, it's going right up to.
Let them do what they need to do. Let them do it well. It's very important what they're doing, and then I bring the camera in a minute. Right.
Set.
Action.
These things are as different from us as we are.
Go back. And ready?
Wait, good, not set yet, 1 second. Ready?
And action.
These things are as different from us as we are from you. Look at this system. It's just been drastically simplified. Supercharged. The heart is encased in bone.
Good luck getting a stake through that.
We've got the spine. We're molding this. This is we're going to use this for two purposes. One will be for the gold spine for the House of Pain sequence. We'll have this gold plated next week. The other one is for the spine in the now the light hammer body when he explodes. He's got a full skeleton inside. Okay, this is the beginning of the spine for the guy with the gold spine being inserted. We've got some of the molds over here. This is the first layer of muscle tissue. And then we've got another piece on the top that simulates the skin. Basically built exactly like the arm. Same system where we've got the foam on the outside. And then the inside. So the back will be just like that. This is the very beginning, the first layer. So we've got muscle layer, fat layer, flesh layer to go. Here, you've seen all this stuff a million times, but now we've got the pre-paint. So we got two of them for the arm here. We got two of them for the back. I don't know if you saw this. This is just an idea. We can get with props and we can do anything you want. You know, if you really, really want to stretch these in, we could do that. But you know, whatever you want for this. And then there's your Chiropractor of the Year award.
Just tear that one in half or something.
Can you?
Right. What do I need next? Is that good? Maybe another one like that? Yes. This is here, I got this if you want to.
You got it?
Cut that or something. Oh. Put this over here.
since it's coming off. And then we'll just cut the alginate and gently. All right? Everybody okay? Set that down. Oh, that was the one here.
All right, well, we missed a bolt here. That was probably it. That's all right, those are there. It was just spinning this side.
In this side?
Yeah, it must have shifted something, because it was all clear.
But did this line up with the elbow?
Because then it will probably take on a creasing.
That elbow, that's the thin elbow right there. But it's still moving. It's the elbow. Hard point looks like this.
And that's the area I was most concerned with because it's pretty good. So then he falls and he goes like this. So,
Is he going to get wacky when he falls?
Well, he won't get on. What's going to happen is his knees are going to break. I don't know.
Okay, so here it is, the closed position. Now, open position. Just make sure he actually does sink.
Take him down to the bottom, wrestle with him.
Let's see. Okay, then he comes up. That's what he wants to do. All right. Cool. There it is.
Going up. Watch your head. I don't know.
You gotta grab hooks and just watch that shit.
Can you level up the legs?
Yeah. Let me get over here.
I'm gonna go under. There it goes. Please don't fall off.
Ow. These are my teeth. Put them back in my mouth.
What?
Put them back in my mouth. Hey Guillermo, this is Kristofferson's body. I think that by the time you get this tape, you will have seen the body in the water. It seems to work out really well.
So we're painting, finishing the paint up. Your good pal Tom here. And we're going to be finishing that today. Next week we'll start the hair work. The following week it'll be shipped. First project out of the box. I prefer private parts or not. All right. This is funny. We're holding Kris hostage now. We're trying to get an extra $1 million out of him to finish the project here. Anyway, he's all prepped here because we're going to start doing his beard, his wig, eyebrows, and eyelashes. And then he'll be shipped out next Monday to you guys. This is our insert tentacle. The tip works the same way as the others. The difference is we've got a housing running all the way through, and you can see it runs all the way through to the inside. And when we do our reverse gag, when this thing attacks Lighthammer, we'll be able to pull 3 tentacles through it. Pull the tentacles through and do it with the reverse. So actually, we'll be able to motivate this right down to the dummy head. And speaking of Lighthammer, what have you got? Once again, we'll have one of the simple body stands. Here we've got a kind of a triple parallelogram neck thing going. Very simple because we know we're not going to be using this for more than a shot. Here we've got his head, which we're in the process of hinging the jaw. It'll have a mechanical jaw on it, and that's pretty much it.
We're gonna give it a little test to see how when it just starts to come.
We felt that the reverse gag was not working for us. It didn't make a lot of sense for us. We couldn't really justify having a full dummy head of Lighthammer to do something that virtually looked like we could have done it with an appliance gag, meaning running the tentacles under it. Kind of could have been done with an appliance and maybe better. So we're going to put little tiny teeth on this, and we're going to show you in case you don't like it, so we won't do it on all of it. But I think a bunch of little tiny teeth will add a great deal of detail and make a lot more sense when the tongue attaches to itself, kind of like a lamprey, so that it goes like that. And then we're going to motivate the inside of his neck on Lighthammer, so it looks as though something really crazy is happening there. Speaking of Lighthammer, here he is right here. That's the side of his neck that the effect happens on, and we're probably going to shoot something on this tomorrow, did we say? Next day. Well, maybe we'll have something to send with this tape, because we're not going to send this one out until tomorrow night. So hopefully, let's make sure we do. And if not, we'll edit this piece out. Over here, we've got the understructure for Lighthammer that hopefully we'll be showing you a test on with the effect happening right here. His jaw is mechanized, so it can open and shut. And his head does the same as all the other ones. And that's the extent of his mechanization, the exception of what happens on his neck when the tongue bites. Little action on the head, and octopus. Great. Keep the octopus tentacles right touching. Yeah. Try that once again. Pulling. And octopus. Barry rolling. Move that finger over just a little bit. Move that one over a little bit. Move that one over a little bit. You rolling? Rolling. Slip your fingers in and start to bleed. That worked great. Really good. Do we want to just clean him and do it one more time? We rolling?
Finger placement okay?
Tell me your fingers need to go back, son.
C flat.
Okay, we rolling? And action, Tom. Tom. Okay, just clench tight, Tom. Clench, make pressure around his... All right, I think it's perfect. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Beat for. Okay, tongue. The skeleton for the priest body. The full body that we've got our hero animatronic on. So you can see we can rod puppet the legs. We can attach these rods from the bottom, from either side, from the front, however we end up wanting to use them. What we're doing is we've got our full body of priest. Once he opens up, it's going to be mechanized like this from below the stage. But then when we go to chop his head off, we leave the arms and body in place and we just remove the torso and replace the torso with the choppable head. That's why this one is a different neck mechanism than the one you've already seen. It's much more simple just because we'd only need that shot for a few frames and the head goes wide. Over here, we've got the priest open mouth Reaper appliance. What this is primarily it's going to be used for the sequence after priest gets his head cut off. He's going to have his head cut here. This is the line we're going to cut it. So just to recap how that sequence works, we've got priest showing up in makeup. He's got a very simple gelatin appliance on his cheekbones and his brow that you've seen. One eye is squinked shut. He's got a horrible wound there where the Reaper attacked him. It's actually his right eye. And 2 holes where the Reaper mouth pops into him. We're going to film him shaking on the ground and doing all the lead up. He's also got a chest appliance that we can squib. Shaking on the ground, doing all the lead up, and then we'll have to take him away and put his neck appliance on, and we'll digitally reveal that neck appliance. Then we cut to the full animatronic. Animatronic does its number, the mouth splits open, begins to sit up. Then we cut to a different head that is rigged to chop in half. It'll fly in a half by itself, and we'll put the blade in digitally. So that way we can predetermine where this cut goes for the makeup. Next thing we do is we put priest in makeup, in this makeup. So we'll have a vacuform piece under here and wires in this, so that we can fold that back wherever it ends up being, right when he gets his head cut. So he'll have this on, and this will all be green. The idea is to make this green and digitally put the esophagus in. However, just in case, we're going to sculpt this detail in relief. All of this detail in relief is going to be sculpted, so you may not have to do it digitally. If you don't like it, we'll cut it out. But that's the idea here. We'll be able to fold these back. And Susan, if you're watching this, what we have determined to do to remove the top of his head digitally was just to paint a green line right here. Just a green line painted on him, and you'll digitally rebuild that in. So that's how that works. We're about to sculpt the wounded eye. The priest will begin the sequence when he transforms, wearing the appliance with the wounded eye on it. This is a piece here that we're going to apply. We're going to pull priest's hairline back slightly. We're going to apply this foam rubber piece. We'll gaff cut his hair down, apply the foam rubber piece into his hairline, and then we'll have a lace piece, a ventilated lace piece, that will blend this edge back here. So if you're looking at his face from here, his own hair will fall slightly on top of this. The lace piece will blend the back, and then this will be painted like raw scalp. We'll use kind of a pink KY concoction, and we'll lay his red hair back on top of this, just with KY. So when the others are struggling with him and hold him down, they'll run their hand across his hair, and a big piece of hair will come out. It'll look pretty nasty, and that's how that effect's working. Then, of course, the puppet that we cut to after the guy in makeup will already have that piece of hair missing. here, we've got Kris. His hair is just roughed in right now. You can see we've got some pretty nice hair work going on in his chest. It's not trimmed or dressed yet. We probably might need to thicken it up in here. And of course, his hair's not cut yet or dressed. It's a good time to ask. He does not have a beard, does he? Did we ever find that out?
I think we did know he doesn't.
No beard, no beard. If he does have a beard, tell us, because that would be something we should put on. This is the understructure for the priest body that gets his head whacked off. So you can see it's got a little bit of head movement. The eyes do blink, and they look around. And the jaws are repositionable, so we can put them in whatever pose he ends up being in. And then his head does this. There you go. And we've also got it rigged to spray a little bit of amber blood. Take a look at the masterful detailing in there. $29.95. We've only got 2,000 of them left. Just as you had requested, this piece can sit on the floor and the eye can still move around and blink. So there's that.
Sure, bring it on in.
And here we have the understructure for the hero piece body. Bring to bend like this, shoulders move. Okay, here we've got Kris. This is the hero animatronic. We're going to send you along with this tape a little bit of our very first test of a full run through on it. It's on the process of painting it and finalizing the, you know, magic that is. It almost works. Finalizing the other stuff. We'll show you a tape of the first run through today. Okay, struggle, struggle, and lift up. And open. Okay, move his head around, keep his eyes alive, scary face. Slow his head down and stop moving his body so much. And keep his mouth alive. All right, I think it's good. So let's squeeze on the body. Okay. Whatever you want now. Are you attaching this? Lift the body? Lift the body. Okay, go under there and raise the body up. There's going to be. Watch it. Raise it up more. Yeah, we got to see it. We got to see the effect. Pull it forward. Pull it forward again. Forward. And action. That's where it needs to be when we pull the head off, so that we don't have to move the head down so much. Yep, back to one. Okay, we're rolling.
Rolling.
Okay, struggle, struggle, struggle. Okay, hold him down, raise all the way up. Okay. And rip. And rip, rip, rip. Just cut. Okay, get it alive. Start struggling with him. Alive, and stand up.
Rolling.
Action. Let's struggle. And raise up. Rip. And it did. Okay, action. Struggle, struggle, struggle. And lift up. And chop. Okay, great. Once again, go back to one. Quicker on the blood this time, Bernie. Anticipate. Okay, struggle, 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 struggle. Struggle, struggle. Lift up. Chops. And cut. This is our generic Reaper number 3 body. We've got the head open. This is the fully hero animatronic. Eyes open, the head's open a little bit. Chest is going on now. The back is on. We're getting all this stuff blended now. And we're going to start molding this weekend. We're in full-fledged overtime at this point. I think it looks pretty cool. It's going to be really nice. The finished sculpture for the boo head of the number 3 Reaper. It's all finished. We're starting that mold today. this is Reaper number what? This is Reaper 7. 7, sir. Okay, this is Reaper 7. He's really interesting looking. I like this one too because he's kind of got a big head look. This is for the Nomak Hero animatronic head. Almost finished, about another day of detailing to go on that. Over here, we've got the tongue. This is the top. You can see how these two pieces will fold together and look a little bit more like a real tongue, and the other one's claw up, and you can see there's beginning to get some really nice detail in there. Okay, so here, last week you saw this thing beginning. These are the teeth that'll go in here. These teeth will go in like this. They'll fold back like this. They'll extend out like this. They'll drip venom and be removable so that we can digitally stick them in later. And then we got this thing goes in here. And this flowers and opens up. This ultimately is, we've started the sculpture on this. This being the mechanism it's based on, translating through there. That's that. Okay, Guillermo, there's not a lot new in engineering. These guys have been fucking off all week. I've tried my best, but what are you gonna do? They threw this thing together to try to dupe me. I don't know what it is. No, I'm kidding. This is only 3 days after we sent the last tape, so there might not seem like a lot of progress here. What this is this is the armature for the number 3 Reaper, the Hero number 3. We've got shoulder movement in it. You've already seen how this head extension works. This is the whole deal. You've already seen in action. The stand you've already seen. Well, the way these attack puppets work, the animatronic Reaper puppets, both Nomak and the generic number 3, is you've got posable fingers, right? So we'll pose these fingers, we'll attach it to the shoulders, and since that's probably not going to hold on, we're putting eyelets. The eyelet will be shorter, that we can actually loop something through the hand and through the wardrobe or through a plate under the wardrobe, so the hand will really look as though it's forcing the actor around. It's kind of a kinetic move. Just in case, I know we've got people being attacked that are shirtless, like Lighthammer. If we can't tie anything to them, we put little tiny holes in the fingertips so we could actually loop a piece of monofilament through the finger and through the thumb, and then go over the actor's back and around his shoulder. So we've got a couple different ways of attaching these hands to the performers. Extra parts. That is just weird. Okay, so what we've got here is a little bit more progress going on. The Hero Nomak and the Hero number 3 animatronic. Let's go ahead and pull that tongue all the way in, okay, and then let it out. So you all know. All right, way too much fun. Enough. Let's move on to something miserable. If we do only sculpt it back open about this far, and we extend this a little bit, what's good about that is we'll have the mouth wider. Right. Are we going to be worried that by cranking it all the way back, that's going to be too much stress on it? I would hate to crank it back, guys. I would hate to lose that. Right. Because it's going to do that on this head. It looks really good. Pull it back forward.
And it'll do it on the sculpted head too.
Will it if it's sculpted about this open, you think?
Oh yeah.
So this is where we do it then. This is what we need. We're gonna have a thinner skin. Good. So this is a great look. This is our full open look. It looks fucking fantastic. Just thought I'd show you this. This is, we're designing all the stuff on computer, so we don't make any mistakes. So it's pretty cool, huh?
I actually walked into the store when I was there buying a sticker. Hey, dude, wait! I gotta put some cars in there. I gotta put my cars in there.
this is the beginning of the number 3 hero animatronic. You can see we've got the eyes in there now. And we are about to start operating up here and get the brows going. And the brows should be pretty cool on this. They'll do up, down. They should squinch in too, right? Yeah, squinch in. That'll be really neat.
Yeah, wise guy, eh?
Over here, this is the boo head. I don't want to fuck anything up right now, but you can see how the assembly is going. This is the one that's like this. Can I do the little happy squirrels here? Sure. Well, we do have a little bit of movement. Remember, Guillermo, you wanted some movement? Well, we gave you some. So besides the face opening, we've got some really nice brow activity. Wow. Wow, that's going to be great. So we're not going to rebuild that at all, huh? So his brows are going to get really scary and pushed down. But we also have this tongue thing. So besides the face opening, it does that. So it's the beginning of something. Just the beginning. I mean, not that we're going to carry it any further. It's the beginning of the effect to leave.
That's the big thing. There you go.
And keep it closing and opening. And can somebody distort the neck? Is somebody actually operating the eyes now? Do the eyes move? We're just repairing all the parts that broke yesterday during our first test, because it basically just fell apart. I don't know what the hell's going to happen on set.
Jürgen, ¿qué estás haciendo, hombre? Mira, ¿por qué no pones atención a lo que estás haciendo? Mira nomás, te voy a dar una.
Just kidding. We've got the base for the Reaper. Gets his neck broken. Okay. We see his head from behind. We'll have it mechanized so we can control the brake. There'll be a bone spur here that'll pop out of the neck. And it'll swing back up and right itself. Rotation and everything else normal.
Hey guys, how you doing? I just want to give you a quick run through on this particular head. This undersock is pop riveted to the skull here and lightly tacked down. The mouthpiece itself is stitched to the sock so it can slide over the musculature. The sock itself is sewed to this rib cage riser, and in order to get access, there are snaps all along the bottom. So snap those up. It will only go about that far in the front. In the back, of course, put the scapula. Slide it up. And what you have, bungee tying off the shoulder blades. This whole shoulder piece section is snapped in all the way around so that you can pop in, get access wherever you need to. Mostly if you have to get in anything internal, I would drop these bungees, unsnap it, and then remove these set screws so you can just pull off this whole panel. And then you should be able to keep pulling this up and get access inside the head. You may have to snip some of the stitching here to get up inside. My suggestion would be, if you have to do anything inside the head to get off that back panel, if you get the skin off, I would slit it up somewhere here in the back, do whatever work you need to, and then loop stitch it closed. And of course the arms will be on it at that time, but that's about it. And over here, this is the Reaper that gets his neck broken. You really should shoot it from behind or a 3/4 because there's no facial mechanism in it. So, but you can't, you can see, if you see it, it'll be fine. It's just that it's not going to be animated. So when it gets kicked, it'll do this. And break it all the way. Okay, and put it back. Okay, so that's what's happening. So basically, and try this time, Kris, when I'm going to just punch, mime it, break it, and get it to swiggle all the way. You know how I keep pushing? Okay? On 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and raise them. Once more. Back, and all the way twist. I didn't give you an action. That's okay. You want to reset it? Okay. I'll kick it this time, but I won't hit it. 1, 2, and 3. That was a little late. All right. Just to show you that we're sparing no expense, the fangs that do like this on the Reaper heads, and they're really cool. Not only
They have a lot of really cool detail in them. You can see they're actually clear, and they've got a little opening so they're hypodermic, so they can actually drip venom. And these just plug on and off so that when we actually have to bite someone, we don't have these horrible things on. And we will have a rubbery version of this. But remember, we wanted to be able to remove them so that if we want to see them sinking into someone, there'll be a digital thing there. Susan, if you didn't know about that, now you do. Here we've got one of our chest prosthetics pre-painted. And this is the actual silicone head for the generic puppet, the Boo head for number 3, the one that just opens quickly.
What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and run the Boo head for you. We're just going to cycle through some of the basic moves, the eyebrows and the eyes and things. And we'll do a couple of repeat cycles of movement where it raises the shoulders and leans forward and does the reveal. So let's go ahead and film it. There. We'll just keep cycling through it, keep giving me some brows and stuff. Throw the head back. Back. Chin up. There we go. All right, let's keep that together again. Chin up, head back. There we go. There we go. Keep it moving. And go forward, Ned. All right.
I want you to turn the head back, lift it, and dislocate it. At the same time, open the eyes wide, go down on the brows, and with one movement, as soon as the tongue goes out, go. And action. Get that tongue alive. Can you look over towards us?
Okay, hi Steve. This is the Nomad Full Reaper body. We're basically just going to do a run through some cycles of moves, nothing really substantial, just trying to show you what it can do in the range of movement. So we're just going to play around with a few things. So here's the head movement. There's that neck forward. Okay, less action on the tongue. Move the tongue up, Chris. There you go.
Quick movements on the head. Lean the body forward. Do the teeth. This is fucking great, you guys.
Ready?
Go down and attack. Okay, pull it off. Turn your body away a little bit, Joe, that way. Okay, let's move it, get it alive. And lower into the attack. Wow, that's good. Oh, fucker. Shoot that. Okay, let's just get some movement. Just attack. Go wild with the body. No. Back and forth, Sam. Up and down on it. Go down. Move more with the body. Struggle, Joe. That's great. Put your hands on his torso. Try to push him away. Come forward with him. Come forward.
Your hands in his mouth.
Okay, and attack him. Let go. All right. Really, the main function was to create a hairless look. Change the ears slightly, give this scar on the chin, and pre-paint them. I mean, it's almost silly that we went to all the trouble because we did over 200 applications on the film. But the fact is, if all we wanted to do was create a seam in the middle of their chin, how do you do that without seeing an edge? Normally, you would put an appliance just about a quarter inch on either side, but then that's going to wrinkle strangely. So it was kind of interesting that we ended up doing full coverage, really, in effect, just to pre-paint them so it wouldn't take forever to do the makeup application and to get this seam running down the middle of their chin. Okay, this is our stock. You can see we're grading them. This is a guard cowl, grade A. Getting all ready for seaming and painting. You can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 of these here. And in here, we're beginning to stock up all of the faces for shipping. Like for instance, this is Reaper number 3. This is a grade A. So we're really starting to get a lot of backlog done here. We're going to start seaming these next Monday, and then once the seaming starts, we'll begin painting. So you can see we do have a few more than 12. We've actually got quite a few going. Okay, hey kids, we're going to start out with the most exciting part of the tour, the seaming department. No offense to the seamers, but you know, it sometimes gets a little bit monotonous. We're actually starting to take the seams off of the many makeups we're doing. Then they go to paint, and then they go to prod. Then you film them. Walk back here with me for a second, and I'll show you how much stuff that we got stored up. This was a surprise to me even this weekend. Back here, you can see that we're just loaded up with appliances. Now, all of these here have already been based out, meaning their seams have been done, and their base paint job is on. So the next thing to do is to start getting all the colors on. Here we've got chests after chest after chest, and more chests, chests. And then, as you can see, the shelves are just lined up with heads. These are cowls. Here we've got more chests. Here we've got more chests. Way more than you ever expected. So we're looking really good. We're getting a jump on this. Over here, you can see we're mass producing like crazy. Lots of Reaper makeups. We've got about 150 of these in total, as well as all the Damaskinos and Nomad. We end up with about 200 prosthetic makeups. All right, and over here, we're finally starting our massive pre-painting situation over here. What we've done is we've got masters made for each one of the characters. This is Reaper number 5. This is Reaper number 3. And then we've cut stencils out, and we've done that for a couple of reasons. Number 1, it makes the painting go a little bit quicker. Number 2, it's going to maintain continuity with the vein pattern. And almost just as important, between the front piece and the back piece, it allows us to continue the veins and make them continuous. So you can see there's a lot of painting going on. We've got 5 full-time painters now. We're trying to kick out 2 paint jobs a day. So in actuality, that would mean 10 paint jobs a day. It would be 50 a week. We'll be done next week. But it's never going to work that way because we got to throw in all of our bodies. So we're going to stay really basically shipping as you need them. Are going to be just I'm getting the. We should cut. We made probably over 150 pairs of contact lenses and teeth. An enormous job, and we have to have technicians on set to take the lenses in and out of the actors' eyes and make sure that they were safe. And the teeth, too, it was just, I mean, imagine the movie had hundreds of vampires in it, so they all had to have teeth and lenses.
She's coming in, it's going to cost you.
The lenses are interesting. They didn't read quite as well as I thought, but what we did is we did something to make them a little bit more reflective, and in some cases, in some of the performers, it reads a lot better than others, but they're kind of metallic, and we went with gold-ish and silver-ish. The people that had dark eyes, we went with gold. The people that had light eyes, we went with silver. So. Okay, Guillermo, we got our test lenses, and I think you're going to be really pleased, our first lenses. These are the really intense Reaper eyes. Okay, and these are the Reaper eyes that are fully dilated. Okay, and the last pair of test lenses we have to show you today are the ones on Mark here. And what these are corneal lenses that indicate the Reaper 1 look. They're not generic, I mean, so that they can be generic, so we can put them in most anyone, because the scleros we can't use as generic lenses. These we can, we have several pairs of these made too. It's kind of interesting, but they really don't read as well as I'd hoped they would.
Onako stoji čvjestka manike oripas.
Narco prisoner.
Basta ja.
Inevitability, I suppose. It was not Nisa I trust.
No. This is a dangerous game you're playing, Damaskinos.
Any game worthy of being played is one must be patient and precise. In this way, I have outlived my enemies.
Blade is too volatile. You're not going to be able to keep manipulating it.
You worry too much. I have assurances from our friend inside that events are unfolding as scripted.
As scripted? You've already lost two of your own. How many more are you willing to sacrifice?
That jar over there. It contains what was once my cue cards. I relinquished it a long time ago. Only a fool would appeal to it now.
Beautiful. Now, when you turn to the jar, and you turn, instead of pointing at the jar, and you look here, Thomas, here, a little further over your right. There. Is that good, Alto?
Yeah.
And that?
I like this.
No, here. No.
This is like this.
Yeah, perfect. All right, let's go. Ready? Over. Action!
I have assurances from our friend inside that events are unfolding as scripted.
A script? You've already lost two of your own. How many more are you willing to sacrifice?
Do you want us to correct Carell's mark?
I'm gonna eat.
Okay.
Let's go. Very beautiful.
Enough?
All of them.
But it's too volatile. You're not going to be able to keep manipulating it.
You worry too much. I have assurances from our friend inside that fuck me.
Action. Onako stručuje monike o Reapers.
Need hands?
Astraham.
Never know, I suppose. I hope it was not used.
No. This is a dangerous game you're playing, Damaskinos.
Any game worthy of playing is one has to be patient and precise. In this manner, I have a little land, all of that.
Blade's too volatile.
Right? Tony? Salamo?